All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's NASCAR '07 Christmas Eve edition of the Chase for the Cup. Race number 3 of 10 in our quest for the championship, trying to get Dave Blaney, of course, his first career NASCAR Nextel Cup Series title. And for this one here today, 8 races remain, our first mile and a half on the Chase. And for those of you that haven't been keeping up with this season, the mile and a half / intermediate tracks, that's where we struggle at probably the most compared to any other track, or track type, I should say. And we have a bunch of mile and a halves. This is the first one. There's supposed to be 5 in the last 8 races. So a showing tonight could be maybe what kind of speed we'll have for this style of racing going forward. Now, it's a little different today because this is the first trip to Kansas Speedway. We have not raced here yet this season. Bakewit 400 title sponsor for this race. Haven't qualified yet, so about to see where we're going to be starting in this one right here on the stream. Be sure to hit the like button as always. Smash the subscribe button as well, as we have daily NASCAR content on the channel. Let's get into this race here today. I was hesitant on where to set the wedge before this qualifying lap. I don't know if the car's going to be too free or not. I went more on the free side of things now because I figured it'd be a more simpler fix to tighten it up going into the race. I didn't want it to be too tight in qualifying and have to start towards the back of the pack. Better chance that I get a decent qualifying lap this way around.
Alright, here we go. Don't hold anything back.
We'll see what Dave Blaney's got. Again, first trip to Kansas on the season. Mile and a half tracks, not been great. We've only won one of them all season. That was at Vegas in the very first one. It's the flattest mile and a half track on the circuit via 2006. Honestly, the car's rolling fine. Hooked the white line beautifully through 3 and 4. Got a great lap going to this point. 14th. Lost a little ground by the time I got off of turn 4. We'll see if we can make lap 2 better. Slight wiggle in the middle of the corner. I definitely know I can do better than what I'm doing in qualifying right now. I'm not saying I'm missing my marks by a lot, but I'm leaving a little bit on the table. Trying to stay hooked to that white line a little bit better in 3 and 4 on both laps. Using the apron at the start-finish line that time. I think the second lap was better. It was by 5 positions, so we will be starting in the top 10. I'll take a 9th place starting spot. We're on the inside lane. We're up towards the front of the field. Looks like the Rocket Man, Ryan Newman, is going to be on the pole yet again. No surprise. Passing door to Bruno Wade. Thanks for tuning in. Green flag is in the air. Ryan Newman leads the field to the green. Chase race number 3 is underway at Kansas. And boy, oh boy, do we have some fun racing coming up. Lost 3 positions on the initial start. Did not fire off well. That'll probably be all night for however many restarts we end up getting, if we have any at all. 400 miles, 267 laps is our distance for tonight's race. And you're looking to get Dale Jarrett back in turns 1 and 2 on lap 2. Uncle Wade. I was supposed to get cookies today, and I didn't. It was for myself, though, so it's not like I'm letting anybody else down. I meant to get some cookies for myself for tomorrow, and I just completely forgot when I got off work. I was just more worried about getting home. Deep dive going off into turn 1. Going to get by Michael Waltrip and Bobby Labonte. Got by both of them. It was 3 wide initially entering the corner, but then it was mostly side by side with the 43 car. Oh. Jeff Gordon out in front. I would like to believe that Ryan Newman led the opening lap, but I could be wrong. I will say, this 22 car feels quick. I don't know why my crew chief just asked that. He's like, is everything all right with the car? Like, in a panic mode. 3 wide. This thing is soaring through the field right now. We're up to third. It has been so long since we've had a car like this on a mile and a half. Third race of the season. Up to third place already after starting ninth. And it's only lap 5. The 2 drivers who have led to this point of Jeff Gordon and Ryan Newman are at the front of the field in front of Dave Blaney. Blaney looking for the path to get around both cars. Greg Biffle right there behind him. Should have told me this morning. I mean, I remembered throughout the day. I just, in the heat of the moment of leaving work, I just completely forgot about it. And I didn't remember until I was eating dinner when I got home. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I forgot the cookies. I was going to want those for tomorrow, but oh well. By the time I was already here, I didn't feel like leaving and going to get them and coming back. It's like a 10-minute drive. Like, I'm already here. Not that big of a deal. Oof. Clip the apron. I will say the apron is pretty forgiving from what I can remember at Kansas. Nowhere near like it is at Dover from yesterday. So lap 7 and to the lead, really taking Gordon's line away in the middle of 3 and 4, but still a clean pass. And Dave Blaney leads at Kansas. We don't see this kind of speed on mile and a halves very often out of Dave Blaney this season, but here we are. I don't want to say this is an upset necessarily when you consider that we have the most wins on the season, but this is just very uncharted territories here. We'll try to hold on to this for as long as we can in the hopes of leading the most laps. 65-point lead over Jeff Gordon, who was second in points for, I believe, the first time all season. He was 4th at the end of the regular season in the chase standings. He wasn't too far out of second, but now he's in second, only 65 points out of first. He's the only driver within 100 points of Dave Blaney coming into the race, though the top 8 in points are still within 1 race worth of each other. Very, very tightly compacted from 3rd through 8th in the standings right now. Like Ryan Newman was 8th in the points going into yesterday, and now he's 4th. Was able to lead some laps at Dover, had a top 5. And there were only 4 chase drivers yesterday that actually finished in the top 10. And those are the only 4 to have a top 10 in each of the first 2 chase races. Blaney trying to start the chase 3 for 3. Greg Biffle up to second after passing Newman and Gordon the last couple of laps. He's looking for his first lead of the day and taking a peek to the outside entering turn 1. Nothing there. End up on the naughty list? I hope not. That's the thing. You never know until, Christmas Day comes. Then you'll know if Santa stopped by overnight or not. Well, you got to be the cool uncle. You can't be the bad uncle. Then you're never going to be around the kids. Oh, you asked him. I didn't know you had that kind of power. I didn't know you had his phone number. I wasn't sure if the North Pole had cell service or not, honestly. I can remember growing up, though, as a kid, like, minute parents try to threaten you into calling Santa. Gotta call Santa. No, don't call Santa. It's hilarious. You can't do that. It's great. No bigger fear in any kid's eyes than your mom or dad calling Santa. Mark the Mars, Merry Christmas to you too. Ethan Chua, thanks for tuning in also. I didn't see you in the chat until just a second ago. Beautiful Gordon swapping positions back and forth for second. I see Kevin Harvick in fifth behind Ryan Newman. Kind of tough to tell after that. Looks like maybe Matt Kenseth. Kenseth finished second at Dover yesterday. Definitely put up a fight with Dave Blaney in the sense that Blaney had to save a bunch of fuel on that final run. We had to go 108 laps on the final run, and before that, I only went about 102 on a full run. We were pacing to be about 4 to 4.5 laps short about halfway through the run on gas, so I had to start saving with about 30 laps to go, and we had about a lap and a half of lead built up because of the way the cautions had laid out throughout the course of the race, trapping the field a lap down, and had to use every bit of that lap and a half lead. I think the margin of victory was only 0.2 of a second over Kenseth. Kind of let it get down to 5-6 seconds, and I'm like, all right, I got to pick it up for a little bit so they're not going to close on me too quickly, and then got a handful of laps more in, getting closer to the finish, just trying to manage that gap as best as we could. And I knew I was going to use all of it because I wanted to make sure we were going to win that race yesterday. Led 366 laps, so it would have been a shame to not win because we didn't have enough fuel in the car. Not that that would have necessarily been my fault. It was just an untimely caution that extended that final fuel window by, again, about that 4.5 laps compared to what I would have liked. No more bad races. Well, I mean, that's what I could hope for. Got a 65-point lead over Jeff Gordon, but Gordon's right there. Definitely going to put pressure on Blaney today. And Greg Biffle, not to mention, third in points, is right there in the top three also. These could be the two that we're competing for the championship with through the remainder of the chase. No stream tomorrow on Christmas. I'll have the schedule in the community tab for the rest of the week going forward after that. I'll probably post something later tonight if I can remember. If not, I'll just do it sometime tomorrow when I get a chance. But yeah, no stream tomorrow. And then when we come back on Thursday, it's going to be Talladega. It's going to be a wild one. Sister wants you to do yoga. I mean, I heard it's good. I don't stretch enough. Like, I think that is a big problem of mine. I work out regularly, that's good, but I don't think I stretch as much as I probably should. Not just around when I'm working out, just in general. I don't know that I'm going to go to the extent of necessarily doing yoga regularly, but it's definitely got its health benefits. And there's some more intense stuff, too, that you can do if it seems like too easy. So led that last lap of the line. Now, Gordon has already led, so he does have 5 bonus points, but he's putting the battle to Dave Blaney right now. Blaney holding on to the outside lane pretty well. Honestly, this car, not only it's fast, but it feels like it grips everywhere on the racetrack. I'm not struggling in one particular corner. I can run multiple lanes if I really want to. Blaney back to the inside of Gordon. We actually have decent straightaway speed, which again on an intermediate track is very rare territory for me. With this equipment specifically. In the Mark Martin season, we were pretty much fast anywhere we went, but That has not been the case this season. So Gordon was able to lead for a lap or two, and Dave Blaney got back around him. Biffle follows to get to second. Kind of a three-car breakaway at the very front of the field, although Newman not all that far off the lead. And fourth, so he still tries to play a little bit of defense over Kevin Harvick. Dale Jr.'s up to 6 now, just behind the 29 and the 12. And I think Kenseth's back there behind Earnhardt then in 7th. Caution free through 24 laps. We had 2 cautions at Dover yesterday, right at the halfway mark, lap 201 and lap 289 out of 400. Dale Jr. with a spin. Wasn't able to rally back to get a good finish, unfortunately. He was one of the 6 chasers to finish outside the top 10. The only 2 to not have a top 10 in the first 2 races are Dale Jarrett and Elliott Sadler. And that is why they're over 1 full race worth of points out of first already, just after 2 races in the chase. Doesn't help that Dave Blaney's won the first 2 races, and he went in as the number 1 seed. They've been quick on the super speedways this season, though, so I would not be shocked if they have a lot of speed at Talladega on Thursday. Well, I mean, it only makes sense that the Twins have the matching PJs. I mean, you can't give them something separate. That just doesn't seem right. Whatever you give one, you got to give the other. I feel like that would probably get old over so much time. It's one of those things, it's like it's cute when they're younger, but then it's like as they get older, it's like, do we really have to do this every year? I don't blame them for thinking that way over time. That would get pretty monotonous after a while. I know it's very early in the race, and there might be some drivers that didn't qualify particularly well, and they're trying to make their way from the middle or back of the pack, and they're just not up here with where the 22, 16, and the 24 are. But at least for this first run, and the track position that is had, I think the top 3 are the 3 fastest cars, because nobody else is really able to keep up to the extent that these 3 are able to keep up with one another. They gap the drivers slightly behind them. Jeff Gordon looking low. On the inside, Dave Blaney trying to crowd him just a little bit. Don't want to make contact, but not going to hold on to the lead anyway. Crossover down into turn 1. Oh, well, there was a little bit of contact there. I don't know that that was much appreciated from Jeff Gordon's behalf, but Blaney does clear him off turn 2 anyway. Few lead changes. Greg Biffle still trying to lead his first lap of the race. He wants those bonus points too. 12, 24, 22, the only 3 to lead. I believe Newman did lead at least the first lap when he started on the pole. I mean, there is a chance he didn't lead at all, but he was definitely the pole sitter to start the race. By the time I drove from 9th up to about 3rd place, he wasn't in the lead anymore. Jeff Gordon was. But he was in 2nd. Initially. Halfway out of gas at lap 32, so this should be about a 4-stop race today. We'll probably be able to go about 60 laps on a full tank, and that's going to be about it. I think that's as much as we're getting out of this car here this afternoon. Well, I guess it's an afternoon race, but it's technically prime time. This thing ain't going to get done till about 10 o'clock. Started about an hour later. I had nothing ready for the stream from last night, having to get out of here a little, well, I wouldn't say early, but quick. As soon as the race was done. Usually I go through and I edit everything. I'll have the stream ready for the next day. Points at the top of the screen, all that good stuff. Thumbnail and the actual stream itself is usually set up a day in advance. And I didn't have any of that set up. So I had to do all that after I got home from work today. I was hoping when I went in I was going to get out early. I was just kind of hoping we'd get close to lunchtime and they'd be like, oh yeah, you guys could just leave if you want to. Nope, never happened. Christmas Eve. Yeah, it's the first time in the 4 years I've worked there that I've had to work a full shift on Christmas Eve. Usually they do let us out about noon, 2:30. We're not that busy, too. That's what it was kind of weird about it. But we have a short shift the day after Christmas where we don't have to go in until later. Apparently nobody's going to be there to open up the place until 10 o'clock. I don't have to clock in until 10:30. So that would be really weird. I don't think I've ever gone to work that late in the day. Well, I mean, since I've worked there at least. Obviously, back in high school and stuff, I worked afternoon shifts all the time. But as an adult, though, yeah, that's definitely new territory for me. Honestly, I'm going to go through like my normal stuff. It'll be nice getting a workout in the morning, though, and not having to worry about it when I get home. It makes it better for the sake of getting that Talladega race in. I can have the ability to do a full 500-mile cup race on a work night because I won't really have anything else to do by the time I get off. Michael Turner, thanks for tuning in also. Christmas. Trying to read your comment. So I chopped the corner entry off going into turn 1. Good evening, Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too. I got to keep reminding myself, say Merry Christmas to everybody in the chat instead of just saying welcome to the stream when I'm giving my shout out. I see you guys all and I acknowledge you all. Yeah, I don't think Newman's got any sort of race-winning speed. He's kind of holding up a pack of cars behind him. It took a minute for Harvick to get by, and now he has not only passed Ryan Newman, but slowly pulled away from him. But he took off till after New Year's. Yeah, I think my dad's got vacation. He usually takes like a week or two off this time of the year. There's a lot of people that I've known like over the years to take off around this time for vacation. I think my grandparents back when they were working when I was younger, they would always take like 2 weeks off during the holidays. They'd save their vacation time for that. It's kind of weird though, because in the sense that select few people are actually able to get those days off for vacation because they only limit like so many employees to actually take off on the same day. So it's kind of like a first come first serve kind of thing. So to do that on a year over year basis, yeah, there's been nowhere I've worked where you're guaranteed that for vacation. Because Joe Smo might have requested those days off already too. I think like I don't know what it is for the warehouse. I think it's department specifics with where I work as far as how many people can take vacation on a specific day. It's kind of stupid the way they do it though too, because then they calculate the actual, like they're basically assuming that there are gonna be call-offs, so they already have to account for people not being there even if they end up showing up, if that makes sense. Which doesn't. It's like, well, if they don't show up, it's not my fault. I don't want to take a vacation day that day, and I can't get the vacation day because you're expecting so-and-so to call off unpaid. Like, I feel like that's a higher priority to get the people with the actual vacation time approved first. They really only started doing that since they changed the whole like call-off system, because they're a lot more lenient with that now. Like, we can accumulate way more points now than what we used to be able to over a certain period of time for the attendance policy. So I think in general we just get more call-offs now because of that. There's a lot of people that abuse it, for sure. Craig Franklin, thanks for tuning in. Lancelot, thanks for tuning in. Also, Merry Christmas to both of you. Am I getting cold? No, I'm not getting cold. Not that I know of. I guess I'll just have to wait and see. I think I did that to my sister one year as a joke. I think I put charcoal in her stocking or something growing up. Stupid. I didn't put a lot in there. I just put a couple of them in there. I didn't fill the whole thing up with charcoal. I just took a couple of the rocks. Coming in and out. Let me know in the chat if the audio is cutting in and out at all. Make sure it's not just one person. Getting close to pit stop number 1. Again, looking at about lap 60 to be that first stop of the day. Might be able to go to lap 61 or 62 because I haven't hit a quarter of a tank of gas left at this point in the run, and we're past lap 45. There it goes. Yeah, I might be able to go to lap 61, and then I'll probably pit. Again, we're really trying to lead as many laps as we can while we're up here. Yeah, let me know in the chat if the audio's still cutting in and out at all, so I can get that fixed. I haven't seen anything in the chat since I and or Craig Franklin in the chat has mentioned it. That was the only mention of it. Just want to make sure everything's running smoothly. I think I see Elliott Sadler up near the top 5 too. He's due for a good run. Lap 50 at the line. Still caution free. 1 out of the last 5 races that we have ran has had more than 2 cautions. So they've definitely been few and far between as of late. Will today be a day that we have more than 2 cautions? The tempo and the pace of the race so far maybe leads for that not being the case. You always have to plan for these races going caution-free. For a while there, I wasn't, because we had gone so long into the season not having a caution-free race. I mean, it took us 15 races before we got one, and now we've had 3 of them in the last, what, 9 or 10? So, I mean, this is 12. So, yeah, 3 in the last 12 races. None in the first 15. So we went from basically first half of the season banking on there being at least a yellow, so I wasn't as worried about strategy, I guess. So we just kind of letting it ride out and had to think about it a little more over the second half of the season. Last night definitely took a lot of thinking, a lot of calculations. I'm glad I was able to make that work, though. Man, if we would have ran out of gas on top of giving up all the time we did to try to save fuel, If I would have just ran it until it was dry and then pitted, we would have probably finished second or third, but yeah, that would have been terrible if I just saved all that, allowed for more cars to get back on the lead lap at the end of the race, and then ran out. I was really hoping I was going to make it. I wanted to win so badly. It was a risk versus reward, and we got the reward yesterday. We won the first 2 out of the 4 races that I said we have to win. We don't have to win this one today, but man, it sure be nice. Because I was not really thinking that this was going to be possible. Not only to get a win on a 1.5 miles, but to lead laps like this on a 1.5 miles too. Yeah, Elliott Sadler definitely closing in. I think Kenseth might be behind him. Ryan Newman's fell way back. Dale Jr.'s gotten around him too. Got the Biff and Gordon side by side. I would imagine the front portion of the field here will break up when we get into pit stops. Nobody has pitted yet, but any lap we'll start to see drivers taking that huge left-hand turn off turn 4 and make their way down. I'm not going to be making any adjustments, at least on this first stop. I really love the way this car's handling it. It is getting more and more free over the course of the long run, but it's not unbearable by any means. I mean, I've had somebody basically on my back bumper for a while. I'm not getting aero loose, so the tires are staying glued to the racetrack for the most part. Our first taker's onto pit road on the way to lap 56 at the line that last time through. Jeff Gordon from second pitted, and several others up in the top 5, top 10 also came to pit road for the first time. We'll be staying out as long as we can in case we catch a caution. Don't want to get trapped a lap down like a lot of drivers did at Dover yesterday, where we had a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops right at about the halfway mark. Luckily, we were on the good side of that yellow and had not pitted. In fact, we were the only car that hadn't pitted at that point, so it was even better for us. Hurt everybody but us. Always makes trying to win a race much easier, and come to find out the fuel mileage race we had towards the finish, I'm very thankful for that caution playing out the way it did, because if we had more cars on the lead lap at that point in time during that yellow, I wouldn't have been able to save as much fuel and still hold on to the lead in those final 30 laps. And by the lap car, David Stremme. I don't think he's pit yet. First lap car that we caught naturally. So still looking at lap 61 to pit. I don't want to push it a lap further than that, though. So we'll stay out of the pits this time. Off turn 4, we'll pit the following time. Got to make sure we don't speed. I haven't really had that issue on 1.5 mile tracks this season. Easy. I probably babied it a little too much, honestly. I could have taken it way more aggressive, but Better safe than sorry. 4 tires, full tank of gas, no adjustments. First stop of the day here for Blaney.
We're gonna add some wedge.
See if this is going to be clean. Yeah, Harvick cycled out in front of us, and he pitted well behind. That was a clean stop, but it just seemed like it was much slower than the rest of the field. Got to get up to speed here. We're going to be back half of the top 10 by the time this all cycles through. 8th place. Coming out of the pits, right in front of Tony Stewart, right behind Kurt Busch in the 2. Jeff Gordon in the 24 will be the race leader. And we'll get back up there eventually. Kurt Busch not giving us a lot of room to try to make this pass right now. Really squeezing the 22 car down. Use more of that apron through the tri-oval. Try to take a slight shortcut. And should be able to clear him off turn 2 this time. That took a couple laps to make that pass. He was giving us 0 room down the straightaways, even if we had a run on him. Blocking us all the way towards the apron. So Gordon leads. There is a little bit of lap traffic right in front of the race leaders. And it's going to take a little bit for us to try to claw back through the field. 3 seconds off the lead for where we're at right now. Some of that was probably babying the pit road entry. Like I said, I definitely could have taken that a little bit more aggressive. Matt Kenseth looks like he's going to try to make this pass tough on us too. Ooh. Not if I'm the first to nudge him. I did not mean to do that, but it worked. Kept it a ways from the wall. He definitely wasn't running me nearly as tight as Kurt Busch was a couple laps before that. Nobody's out of the race to this one. I don't think anybody's been on pit road with an engine failure. So all 43 cars are on the track, 67 laps in. 200 to go at the line this time by. Everybody has pitted once. Out of what seems to be a pretty simple 4-stop race today. Not going to be anywhere close to a fuel window. We pit every 60, 61 laps. We'll end up having the final run go a little over 20 laps to the finish. So it would take a caution in a weird spot like we had yesterday at Dover for us to have to do any sort of fuel calculations from that point onward. Three wide battle for position just up ahead. Could be a lap car somewhere in there. Actually, it looks like Reed Sorensen maybe in the 41 was up on the outside of that. 2 cars for position are battling up in the top 5. Looks to be for about 3rd. Dale Jr. Greg Biffle battling for 4th. Blaney closes on the 2 of them. Gordon's led every lap since all the pit cycles had gone through on this opening round of stops. Earnhardt sliding up the track a bit. Thought for a moment Greg Biffle was going to try to take it 3 wide, but he did not. 30.928, fastest lap of the race by Blaney that last time. 3 wide move. Underneath the 16 and the 8. Passes them both for 4th. Lap car Paul Menard now holding up Harvick in the outside lane. Sadler trying to use him as a pick to get to second place. Harvick trying to go into the middle groove. Sadler still squeezing him. They're holding each other all up. And Blaney with the head of steam right behind him. Fastest lap, 30.924, taking that shot down towards the apron again. Overdrove the entry to try to capitalize on that momentum on the front stretch underneath Elliott Sadler. Not enough room to make the pass there. Sadler goes a bit wide through 3 and 4. Blaney through to the bottom. Low exit. Clear high off turn 4. In lap 72 up to position number 2 yet again. 0.7 of a second off of race leader Jeff Gordon, who has led the second most laps today to that of Blaney. Blaney easily has led the most. Let's get some Christmas conversations going down in the chat. I mean, it is Christmas Eve after all. I don't think I've really shared a lot of stuff about my personal life Christmas-wise. We're going to start off. Favorite cookie? In general. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a Christmas, kind of cookie. Just cookie. What's your favorite cookie in the chat? We'll start off with that. I know it might seem like plain Jane, but honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with a chocolate chip. It can be a specific brand, too, if you're not looking at, like, homemade. If you're looking at, like, store-bought stuff, too, you can throw the brand down there. There's a pretty good bakery in Fremont that specifically makes cookies. Like, that's their specialty. They might sell cakes and stuff like that, but it's more on the cookie side of things. Like the bakery in the town that I grew up in, they were pretty much donuts. It was a donut place at that bakery. But, yeah, as far as cookies go, I mean, I feel like for me, if it's not chocolate chip, probably M&M. Those are the two. Subway's got some pretty good cookies, too. I haven't had any of those in forever, but I can remember them making some pretty good cookies. I'd hoard the chocolate chip cookies at McDonald's when I worked there. That was like the thing, like there'd be people sneaking food when they worked at McDonald's, and I'd be the one like back in the freezer. If I had to go get something, I would like steal a cold cookie or something like that. Eat a cookie while I was back there grabbing something. I didn't do it all the time, but I can definitely remember going in there a handful of times. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have this cookie. It'd usually be on a day where, like, work sucked that day. I'm like, you know what? I deserve this. And then I would just eat the cookie. Be like, I'm working my ass off today. I earned this. Steal a cookie. That was the only thing I really ever ate as far as when I wasn't supposed to. Because they were very particular about not eating food. Not eating the product. It's weird, though, because it's like, even if you would make a sandwich, for instance, and it would be like the wrong sandwich, and it would just sit up there for a couple minutes, and if nobody bought, like, let's say somebody ordered, I'm trying to think of something. Let's say somebody ordered like a double cheeseburger, and they didn't want pickles on it, and there were pickles, and they were picky about having the pickles on it, and they didn't want to pick them off, so they would send the sandwich back. If somebody ordered a regular double cheeseburger with those pickles on it, we would give that cheeseburger to them, so that way it didn't go to waste. But there was a time frame on it. It wasn't like it was sitting there for like 10 minutes or something and we gave it to the next person. It was usually, especially if we were busy, if it was within a couple orders after that one, then we would use that. But if it were to go to waste, let's say 5-10 minutes passes, we get slow after the rush and nobody orders that double cheeseburger, we just end up throwing it out. But yeah, they didn't want anybody eating that stuff. Which at that point, I don't understand why you wouldn't just give it away, because you're going to be throwing it out anyway. I can understand maybe not eating it while you're on the clock, but I don't see why somebody can't, like, put it in their lunchbox or something. I don't know. Like, that always seemed very odd to me. Like, you'd rather just throw the food out than have somebody else take it. Very rare occasions, they would end up, like, actually giving food that was bad. Like, I can remember a couple different times where somebody left, like, the cookies in the oven or some of the pies in the oven, and they went a little bit too long, so they weren't going to serve them, so that they basically were just giving them out to whoever was on the shift. Like, everybody take 2 cookies or something, or those cherry pies or whatever. That, you know what I'm talking about, the pies that McDonald's sells. I've never had one, personally. They look like a Hot Pocket, but it's a pie, supposedly. I mean, people buy them, so they must be good. I've never been a pie person, in general. Or a warm dessert person. I'm usually with the cold stuff. Like the cold, more refreshing, you know, your ice creams of the world. Like cheesecake's great. I love cheesecake. That's probably my favorite kind of cake. That or like a pumpkin pie. But like it has to be cold though. Like fresh out of the refrigerator. Younger used to go to your grandparents for Christmas Eve every year. Yeah, this is one of the few years that we haven't gone to my grandparents on Christmas Eve, but everybody had to work today, so we just ended up moving that until after Christmas. I got to work the day after, too. I don't know if my mom's on vacation or not. I know my dad's on vacation. I don't think she starts hers until closer to New Year's. I think she goes back for the rest of this week, and then she's off next week. I don't think she has as much time as my dad did. Granted, I don't have kids or anything, so that probably factors into it quite a bit when you would take like this time of the year off, because your kids would usually have off this time of the year for school. So that makes sense to kind of take vacation at this time. But, you know, for me, like not having any youngins, like taking off like for weeks at a time this time of the year doesn't really, I'd rather use it for when it's nice outside or something like that, and plan a vacation elsewhere. I like doing things. I'm not a... I mean, I'm a homebody, don't get me wrong, but if I'm taking time off of work, I usually want to go do something. Because otherwise, it's like if I'm just like here, I feel like I'm missing out on something that it could be doing else. Holiday hockey tournament. How's that for you at that local college? Got all that apron through 1 or 2. I think I had all 4 tires down there at one point. I mean, it definitely slows me up off the exit of the corner, but as far as the handling side of things go, it's not like the car bottoms out terribly and wants to spin out on me in any way like it usually would. Apron's definitely forgiving here at this racetrack. I don't want to test the waters and see how low I can actually go. It's not like Vegas where it's super flat all the way around the corner. There's actually progressive banking and the flatness of the apron down there. I would imagine it's not going to make a quick time, but I could probably afford to get those left sides right on the white line and start making more time up, honestly, but I don't want to risk it. Just in case something does go bad. It might be forgiving now, but burn the tires off the car running so low for so long, and later in the run something happens. Can't say the town names. Oh, no, you don't have to do that. I get the gist of it. Yeah, I don't like sharing too much information on the internet either. I share enough with what I have, but when it comes to like places nearby and stuff, like if I do shout out something, sometimes it'll be like a local place that I've gone to, but it's usually not in like the town that I'm from. It'll just be somewhere I've gone like once or something, restaurant wise. More for like a touristy thing. It's like, oh, if you ever come to the Toledo area, check out such and such, you know, I'll do that. But yeah, I don't like telling people where I live. I mean, it's different with like people I work with or whatever, and they try to start a conversation. Oh, are you from around here or something? That's a little different. No, I'm not telling you where I live. Like, I'm not gonna be like that. But when it comes to a mass audience on a live stream, I just tell people I live around Toledo. The area. 3 local schools and 1 private. Oh, in that hockey tournament. We still didn't get many, like I was talking about the cookies, but trying to get some conversations going in the chat with just Christmas stuff in general. It's the one time of the year we can do this. It's Christmas Eve. We didn't get favorite cookies in the chat. I talked about mine for a little bit, but nobody else put the recommendations down there. Milk's obviously got to be 2%. I mean, for me, I mean, I guess if you're lactose, you probably don't want 2% milk. Probably go with like an almond milk or something. I've never had almond or soy milk, to be completely honest. My sister's probably cooked with it before. Maybe that's where I've maybe had it. But as far as like just drinking it, peanut butter cookies. Yeah, my grandma makes some good cookies too. Yeah, she does good peanut butter cookies. And chocolate chip. We got another chocolate chip. We got multiple chocolate chips down in the chat. Yeah, you just can't go wrong with a good chocolate chip cookie. Hate almond and soy milk. Yeah, I've never had it. I was forced to have skim milk at one point when I was younger, but my Dad sent me to the Dollar General one time. I can remember this vividly. He sent me to the Dollar General to get milk. I didn't know what I was doing. I was probably like 8 years old. Okay, 2 gallons of milk. Get the milk. Come to find out it was skim milk. So I had to use it because basically I bought it with his money. Like, all right, well, I got skim milk for a week. I had to eat freaking Cinnamon Toast Crunch with skim milk. You know how disgusting that is? It's like water. Might as well just put water in my bowl of cereal. It's horrible. To drink, I mean, yeah, maybe to cook with, all right, but it was so gross. It's like I toughed it out for the first couple bowls, and then like I got like halfway through. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is gross. Then we eventually just dumped out the rest of it, but I don't know how much of it was a joke and I just went along with it because I did everything I was told. That very well could have been the case. Have I been to Canada yet? No, I have not. I'm hoping NASCAR goes back at some point. That would definitely give me a great reason to go. Either that or to go to like a WWE show up there because the Canada crowds are always pretty cool. High energy. Open milk and it tasted like glue. That was probably spoiled milk that you were drinking. I've also had spoiled milk before. That's not fun. I will say there was one time the milk was outdated and I didn't even know. I was in high school. This wasn't when I was like 8 years old. Like I was well of the age to know what the expiration date means on milk, and put it in my cereal. Didn't look. I don't know why. In my defense, I don't know why it was in the refrigerator if it was expired. That should have been tossed out before it got to me, but needless to say, I didn't look at it. Had a whole bowl of cereal with spoiled milk. I didn't get sick, though. Like, I didn't notice a difference. My sister's like, did you drink the rest of the milk? And I'm like, I had it in my cereal. And she's like, there was lumps in it. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know. So gross. I'm looking back on it, I don't know how I never got sick or anything. Like, I just didn't even notice anything. I've got several milk stories in the gauntlet I haven't shared before. There was a couple of them. And the skim milk story from when I was younger, and yeah, I didn't notice the difference. Might as well have just put like cottage cheese in my bowl of cereal at that point. I probably still wouldn't have noticed the difference. Who knows if you could be okay with the cold and the weather in the winter? I mean, it's got to be peaceful up there, I would imagine, population-wise. Unless, I mean, there are obviously major cities up in Canada, but there's really only a couple of them that have, like, a lot of people. It's so spatial. I don't know what it runs you, though. I don't know enough about the economy up there to say if it's a cheaper way of living or a more expensive way of living down here. I know stuff like in American dollars is more expensive up there, but that's to go from here to there. So I don't know, like if you were to live there, is their minimum wage just higher? Because that would make sense if that would be the case. Worst food I tasted in my childhood? I don't really know. That's skim milk story, honestly. That's up there. I think I did the same thing when I was younger. Moral of the story is don't send a sub 10-year-old to go get groceries. This is the moral of the story, but I was supposed to get cream. They were cooking with something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I had to go get cream of wheat. I ended up getting cream of mushroom. And I was also forced to eat that. I did eat the cream of mushroom. I remember that. That was also disgusting. Stuff like that I can remember vividly tasting. I'm like, why? Why? They're punishing me for getting the wrong thing. But maybe you should have adult supervision and go with me and just get it yourself. I get you're like in the middle of cooking something and you're probably relying on a kid to do the right thing. I'm glad they had a lot of faith in me to do the right thing. Grab the right stuff. I lived like pretty much right next to the Dollar General, so it wasn't like it was a hassle for me to go up there by myself. I mean, it was like 3 doors down, 4 doors down. Like it wasn't a far walk. It's like 4 doors down and across the street. It wasn't a busy street. Small town. Chicken patties. I don't know. Chicken patty sandwiches I had growing up were good. I don't know if Gordon Foods is just like a thing around here in like Michigan area, Midwest. It might be a Midwest thing. You guys will have to let me know in the chat. But that's like all the school foods was basically Gordon Foods. But I can remember my mom just going to Gordon Foods and getting stuff, and we would have like the square pizzas or whatever that they would usually sell in schools. We'd get those a lot. There's some other stuff in there too. You know, chicken patty sandwiches. All the school foods. Not in your school. Maybe it is just like a regional thing around my area then. I definitely know into Michigan it was that. But there was a specific store in the Toledo area that they would always basically import. A lot of the schools, the general area, would all get the same food from that place. Then you go to like more of the inner city schools. I always loved playing at Toledo Christian High School in Toledo. They had like an actual Chick-fil-A in their school. That was like the coolest thing growing up. The whole team, we couldn't wait to go and play them in like basketball, football, or whatever, because they had a Chick-fil-A like in their store. Or a store in their school. Like, we get Chick-fil-A sandwiches. That was like the best game of the year just for that reason. That was like the most looked forward to away game every year. Shout out to TC. There was another school in there that had some really good cheeseburgers. Like, they were known for their cheeseburgers. Also another Toledo area school. That yeah, that was good. That was a good road game too. That was always good because their basketball team always sucked, so they'd be pretty easy to beat. So we'll win a basketball game by 30, 40 points and have a good cheeseburger. Halftime during the varsity game if you're on JV or vice versa. Everybody had to get a cheeseburger. It was hilarious because even the coaches wanted in on it and be like, hey, make sure you give me a cheeseburger. They'd like give one of the kids money to go get him a cheeseburger for after the game. That's how good they were, man. When you get the coaches in on it too. Got some good cheeseburgers. It's like those are schools that, like, man, why can't we go here? Why don't we're like, Gordon Foods isn't bad, but you know, it's not Chick-fil-A. Soft pretzels, specifically at the softball games that I go to, had some really good. They had slushies too. Get a slushie and a pretzel with cheese, man. You were good to go. It was the one time a month I want to not pack a lunch. Like, I have to have the nachos. Gotta get nachos. Gotta get nachos. Yeah, the nachos at that elementary school, man, they were the best. Sorry for the lag there. I had to pause it for a quick second. Try to fix that. Think we're good to go now. Looked like we had some lag spikes going on for about a good 15 seconds or so. Good to go now. Apologize for that. Didn't miss any of the action. Half a lap. Nope. Yep, and that would include us. Try to be a little bit... There we go. I still probably could have been even more aggressive than that. That was better than the first time around, though. What is going on here? I'm having a... Okay, we're good again. Sorry the frame rates keep dropping on the stream. Hopefully it's done now. We had that lag spike for like 10 to 15 seconds, and then I got it fixed, and then I saw there was another lag spike again. We're good for the moment. Hopefully it stays that way. Currently on pit road, wrapping up our second stop. Another 4-tire pit stop. Matt Kenseth's going to take his first lead of the race. He has by far been the best non-chaser through the chase so far. Second at Dover, he had a top 10 in the first race with laps led as well at New Hampshire. Or no, he didn't lead laps. New Hampshire. It was only me and Biffle, but he still had a solid run. Now he's out leading at Kansas for the first time today, just before the halfway mark. Football games. Walking taco for $8. That seems expensive. Is that really what like high school games are up to now? For pricing? That's like... I feel like you can get stuff like that at a normal... like a Lions game or something for that price. Actually, no, a Lions game would probably be like 12. It's probably inflated even more. Go to professional sporting events, it's going to be... I don't think I've ever gotten food when I was at Ford Field, now that I think about it, so I don't really know about the prices up there. I've been to Ford Field a bunch before. Been there for a few football games, a couple concerts. SummerSlam last year. I like the venue. I mean, it just... I don't think I've ever had food in there, though. I'm not one for going to the concession stand very often. Like, I would in high school sports and stuff growing up, but... pro sports, I usually don't unless I plan to just eat dinner there. Then I'll find something good there before. Like, Little Caesars Arena, they've got a ton of stuff in there for food. Obviously, it's a more newer arena, which probably helps the accommodations for all that stuff, but they have, like, restaurants in there. A couple of really good ones. They got an actual food court where you can build your own burger, build your own burrito area. Like, right across from it. They got some good stuff in Little Caesars Arena. I'll go to like a game or something midweek after work where I don't have time to go out to eat beforehand. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just have dinner up there. No big deal. They got some good food. Find a place where you can get a legitimate meal. Never been to an NFL game or an NBA game? I've been to several NBA games. I've been to 3 NFL games. I've been inside or within, I guess, a few different like NFL arenas, but not all for football games. Like I said, I was at Cleveland for SummerSlam this year. Been at Ford Field for concerts and stuff. Granted, I've been to Ford Field for a couple football games too. I was at Heinz Field for a Raiders and Steelers game back in high school. That was actually the year I broke my ankle, which I was talking about that story a couple days ago, because I was on crutches when I went to that game. Got to take the handicap elevator. I felt like a cool person there for a little bit. So we had second level seats, so I couldn't really climb the steps, flight of stairs with the crutches in hand. Not that it would have been that much worse than the hill I had to climb before that. That was a lot of steep hills around Heinz Field. Well, it's not Heinz Field anymore. I don't know what the title sponsor is of it now. It'll always be Heinz Field to me. It was Heinz Field from, I mean, well, as far as I can remember. Three Rivers Stadium. I don't know if that was the same place or if that was a completely different stadium or not. I'm not a Steelers fan, so I don't know this stuff. It might be the same venue, and then they just had Heinz Field as the title sponsor, but I'll never forget the big Heinz ketchup bottles on the top of the screen. Jumbotron. Yeah, I've been to 3 MLB parks. I've seen a lot. Like, I've seen a lot of stadiums just in my traveling expenditures. Like, I've probably seen from the outside nearly half of the NFL stadiums from cities I've been in. Going to NASCAR tracks, I'll just pass by a bunch of them. Some of them aren't even in use anymore, like the Edward Jones Dome over in St. Louis. I've seen that from afar, but that's not... Well, it's still in use. I don't think they've demolished the place by any means. The old Georgia Dome in Atlanta, that wasn't torn down when the new stadium was up. So I saw the new stadium like, oh man, what was that? Like 2 weeks or so after they hosted the Super Bowl in 2019? That was the first year that they had that place. So I was down there for a NASCAR race, but the Georgia Dome, I saw that from the outside too. Did they end up destroying that? They blow it up, or is it still around? You have to let me know in the chat. They probably blew it up, and the new place looks so much nicer. From what I've seen from the inside and the outside, it doesn't even look like a football stadium, but it still looks nice. Oh, geez, I was looking at the chat, just pounded the wall. Truist Park, you'll have to help me. A lot of the, like, new names with the sponsorships, I'm not too familiar with. If it's an older sponsor name of the stadium, I could probably tell you what it is, but Truist Park, that's not Milwaukee, because that's like American Family Insurance Field or something like that. Braves old stadium. Coors Field's Colorado. Honestly, Kauffman Stadium's really nice. I got to see a Tigers game there a couple of years ago when I was in town for the NASCAR race. I went to a Tigers game on Saturday and the Cup race that following Sunday. Still kind of holding up the Carhartt 17 car of Matt Kenseth. Saw the Braves old stadium. I didn't see the new or old stadium for Atlanta. I remember seeing street signs for it, but I don't think I actually saw the stadium itself. Yeah, as far as NFL stadiums that I've seen, though, I mean, I saw SoFi when I was over in, that was when it was like new also. What was the first year they started going to SoFi? Was that 21? Because I went to the Auto Club race in 22. During the off season, I remember seeing SoFi. That was on the flyover, the fly-in to LAX is where I saw SoFi. I drive by... See, it's not Paul Brown Stadium anymore, so whatever Cincinnati's stadium is now. I always remember the old names. I think I'm showing my age now. I'm bad with that stuff. When they rename fields and stadiums, I never really know the rename of it. So I only remember it from my youth years playing all the video games. I can remember what they were back in like 2006, but I can't remember what they are now. I might not have even seen what it is now half the time. St. Louis Battlehawks, isn't that the USFL team or something? The Battlehawks. Ran our fastest lap of the race the last several laps. Got down into the 37s. Martin Truex Jr. blowing up on the inside of the track. I saw Tony Raines blowing an engine earlier. I think he's the only car out of the race before Truex. From what we've seen, at least, if there is anybody out of the race, I just didn't see them over time. A little bit past the halfway point in today's race. Still no caution. As Dave Blaney leads the field. Fastest lap again, 30.734 that last time. Oh, near trouble off turn 2. A lot of smoke up there. Near the wall. I see skid marks. Somebody hit the wall hard. But again, we stay green. A lot of skid marks in 3 and 4, too. What the heck's going on? That could have been from a while ago, and I just now realized it. What? Rate field? It's not guaranteed rate field anymore? Rates field. That's just weird. I can remember when it was U.S. Cellular. That's what I always remember that stadium has. U.S. Cellular Field. .73. 730 specifically. 3-horse race at the front of the field right now. Dave Blaney, Matt Kenseth, Greg Biffle. The rate Kenseth's going at, he should easily take 11th in the point standings at the end of the year as the first driver. Not in the chase. I mean, he keeps doing what he's doing right now. Better be lucky he wasn't in the chase, because he would be a legit championship contender. Running second place right behind us for the second race in a row. I think he was 6th at New Hampshire. Somewhere around there. He definitely was in the top 10. Hope it doesn't rain for the 2025 Daytona 500. Got a high appointment the day after. Yeah, that would suck if it rains out again. All those years where there was never a rain out, to where they had to race on a Monday, and now it's happened 3 times in about the last just over a decade. That's got to be like a global warming effect or something. Combination of that and just dumb luck. I mean, even look at how long it went before they had a rain shortened race. It took till 2003. I think it was the first rain shortened race. Then they had another one in 2009. And then 2012 was a Monday. Then it went several years again before they had another rain delay Daytona 500. But then, yeah, they ended up having 20 pushed to a Monday. 21 was very late Sunday after a lengthy rain delay. There was a couple other years in there. 2014 was a rain delay also, because that didn't get done till like wee hours of the morning. That was 2 years after the 2012 race. I couldn't imagine streaming during like those races of the Daytona 500. I couldn't imagine if I was streaming the 2012 Daytona 500 on the channel, how long of a stream that would be. Waiting out the jet dryer incident. That was a couple hours, wasn't it? On top of already waiting a day for the race as it is. Yeah, 2014 definitely would have been a long one. We'll have that one of these days. I mean, it's happened before. I just haven't had the YouTube channel that long. '12 is 2:30. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I definitely remember that getting done well after midnight. Dreary-eyed, talk about Matt Kenseth and the Best Buy car winning the Daytona 500. Astros Minute Maid Park. Yeah, I didn't see any of the stadiums when I was in Houston for the Royal. Well, it wasn't for the Rumble, but the Rumble was in San Antonio. I was staying in Houston. I mean, I was in the Alamo Dome, so that was kind of cool. It was an old stadium, very, very old. It's got to be like the most outdated stadium I think I've ever been in. I've been in some old stadiums, like the Joe was pretty old, but I was so young that, like, I remember the inside of it, but I don't remember how outdated, you know, maybe the concessions and stuff were. But I can tell you that it was pretty outdated at the Alamo Dome as far as, like, places to eat in there. There weren't many options available. You go to a lot more newer stadiums, like I just mentioned with the Little Caesars Arena, for instance. It was built in the mid-2010s, and there's endless options for all that stuff. It's like you get your tenders, fries, burger, and that's about all. Maybe you can get a corn dog or something. Like, it's the basic, most bare minimum basic stuff at the Alamo Dome. I had no idea they still host like college football games up there regularly. That's where UTSA plays. I knew that when I was in there. Honestly, I didn't even know the Alamo Dome was still like in use when the Royal Rumble was there. I didn't know it was actually in the Alamo Dome until I bought the tickets. Because I was like, well, they're in San Antonio, but I wonder where at in San Antonio it is. I just automatically assumed it was like the Spurs Stadium or something. I was like, what? The Alamo Dome? I thought they blew that place up already or something. I didn't know it was still active. Yeah, but it is very outdated. It is a very old building. I don't know when it was built, but probably back in the Alamo. Yeah, it's old. It is old. Maybe a lack of concentration there. Greg Biffle going to look to the inside for the lead. I don't think he's led yet today either, so that'll be 5 bonus points for the driver third in the standings. Blaney going to get him back through turns 1 and 2, though. Our third stop of the day will be at lap 183. That's what we're looking at. We have right around 100 laps to go already. This race is clicking by pretty quickly. 65,500 was the first rank Jordan. Okay. Well, I was wrong about 2003 then. That must have been the first one during the televised era. 79 was the first flag-to-flag race. Maybe it's the first one in the modern era. Maybe that's what I was thinking. Joe Louis was so small compared to Little Caesars. Yeah, it's weird though, because from the outside, Little Caesars Arena doesn't look that big. I don't know if like the architecture of it, it's kind of like in the ground more. Because I think it may very well be. Or once you walk in, you kind of walk down. Because from the outside, it doesn't look massive. Honestly, it doesn't even really feel like you're going into a stadium from the outside. Especially depending on what entrance gate you go into. It just looks like a random, like, mall or something. It doesn't look like a gigantic movie theater. From the outside, it really doesn't look like a stadium. Or what I expect a stadium would look like from the outside. Being at other venues growing up. I guess the Huntington Center in Toledo is kind of the same way. It's just like this brick building randomly like corner of a street. It's like, oh, there's a minor league hockey stadium like right here. What if did a sleep stream? Yeah, I'm not doing that. That sounds terrifying. What does that even mean? Does that mean you're just streaming while you're sleeping? I might accidentally do that this year. I don't know. Or next year, I guess, technically. We are doing a 24-hour stream on the channel. I think I'm going to do coverage of the Rolex 24 for live commentary. And I'm going to try to do all 24 hours. It's going to sound crazy. I will start promoting that the closer we get to the actual date. Because I want to make sure I'm 100% sure I'm going to do that. But that's the plan. It will be a 24-hour Rolex 24 stream. And it's going to be your typical live commentary stream we would normally do during NASCAR season, but it will be for the Rolex 24 specifically. I don't know if I've ever even stayed up for 24 hours before. I might have, and then like just lost track of time of when I actually went to bed, but from what I can recall, I've had some days where it's been close. I can remember like getting back from Cedar Point at times at like 2, 3 in the morning when I got up at 5 or 6 the day before. Or going like on 2 hours sleep somewhere, 3 hours sleep somewhere. But I don't know if I've actually stayed up for 24 consecutive hours. Because usually, you know, I would be up early in the morning, but I don't know that I've actually stayed up like all the way through the night and didn't go to bed until like that next morning at like 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Like, I don't think I've done that. So it'll be a bunch of firsts for the channel. Imagine NASCAR did a 24-hour race. Well, I mean, there might be some NASCAR drivers in the race. I don't know the driver lineup list. Obviously, I'll have all that ready to go because I want to make it a professional stream still with it being the live commentary side of things. So I'll have my papers, I'll have my research as I normally would do during a normal race stream. Try to get as familiarized with IMSA and its current state as possible before doing that. Because I've never done an IMSA stream before in general, so that's going to be the only one I'm really going to be able to do because NASCAR is going on the rest of the year pretty much outside of that weekend. And it's Daytona, you know, it's reminiscent of NASCAR country. There's been a lot of former NASCAR drivers to run that race over the years and or win it at times. Maybe not overall a lot, but in a particular class. Aggressively just trying to hold off Matt Kenseth. Greg Biffle already pitted. So he's probably going to come out as a leader if I had to guess. pressure tires for a longer period of time than that of the 22 and the 17 here. Blaney's lost the lead every time he has pitted so far. I would imagine we've already clinched the most laps led. We have less than 100 laps to go in the race, so we've led a ton. Still got about 11 laps until the next stop for the 22 team specifically here. I think for the sake of having the most laps led, I do think I will short pit the final stop. Just because we're not going to have as many laps on the back side of that if I were to just go a full 61 laps again. To try to run down whoever's in the lead. I don't want to have to be crunched for time. In the event that we would get consecutive yellows and not having the restart gear in the car either. That probably benefit me being more towards the front so I can try to short pit and cycle back to the lead. I think I'll have a fast enough car to at least hold serve from that point. This race is going by so quickly. My eyes aren't deceiving me. It's only like 8:30, right? We started this at 7. 8:40. Obviously, we haven't had a caution yet, but this is a quick race. For a cup race. I don't think it's going to be as fast as Michigan, though. Our Michigan caution-free race was like barely over 2 hours. What was it, like 2 hours and 9 minutes? 2 hours 11 minutes, something like that? I don't think we'll ever beat that. Still seeing a bunch of cars cycling on and off a pit road. Almost a 1 second lead over whoever is in P2 right now in the middle of green flag stops. Most of the field has pitted already, though. We'll probably be one of the last cars to pit yet again. We've had several other drivers at times go just as far as us. Lap 179 now. Again, our number is lap 183 for this third stop. Fuel load getting pretty light. We've been as many as 3 seconds off the lead after pit cycling, too, and that's with no mistakes by way of the actual pit crew. No speeding penalties has been huge so far. Got to continue to do that. I've not been 100% aggressive on the pit road entries up to this point. Like to keep it that way if possible. Better safe than sorry. We're in the chase. We can't afford those kinds of mistakes like we were doing earlier in the season at various times. Not that I sped a lot, but there was a select couple tracks like Pocono and Indy, Michigan, those bigger ovals. I just have a tough time trying to gauge when I need to start braking because you definitely have to do it earlier, longer straightaway, more speed. Again, Blaney going 61 laps yet again. We will be pitting this time by. We're at lap 183. And again, no adjustments, 4 tires. We will top off on fuel. We're getting better and better with the pit road entry. The more practice we get, the more perfect we get. Or at least close to it. We're getting closer. I haven't found my limit yet. Get to work before 5 on Friday. Go there at 3:34. You get to work an hour and a half to an hour early. Or you're leaving that early. I don't even like getting to my place 15 minutes early. I feel like it's too early. I don't like just sitting in my car killing time. I'll sit there for a couple minutes. I like to try to time it out to get there between I have to clock in at 6, try to get there between 5:50 and 5:55 a lot. Pull in, listen to the rest of the song I was listening to or something on the way in, and then go in the doors. All right, 4th place right now, 2.6 seconds off the lead. Greg Biffle in the 16 car is currently in 3rd. Still got about 82 laps to go. Now, if we were to take this next run as far as we could go to about lap 244 before we were to pit for the final time. Probably not going to go that far. That window's really going to open anytime from about 60 laps to go onward. I may be short pitting the final run. It's risky, though, because you don't want to get trapped a lap down, but we could come out with a massive lead and really not make this interesting at all. Quickly trying to catch up as Kenseth's back in the lead yet again. Harvick is in 2nd. It's not that far off of where the race leader is. 1 lap car between the 29 and the 22. Harvick looking to get by J.J. Yaley in the 18. Gonna capitalize inside of Kevin Harvick.
Keep pushing now. You got the lead within reach. There you go. All clear.
30.648 that last time by. Fastest lap of the race for Blaney. I just love how you progressively get quicker and quicker the more laps you put down in the race. Like, I haven't made any adjustments this whole race. And I've probably picked up almost 0.2 of a second from where it was at the very beginning of the day. Always intrigues me. You can argue the track's getting rubbered in, but I don't know that these games are that smart yet. This time period to be able to have the technology to do something like that. Clock in and out on your phone, like next to like a time punch area, or how does that is it like a check-in, check-out kind of thing? Like, there's a QR code I can scan on my phone, but I still have to be like by the punch-out areas. There's more than one in the building I work. Blaney got back around Matt Kenseth a few laps ago, back in the lead, currently lap 195. 72 laps to go at Kansas Speedway at the line this time by. We have had 0 yellow flags in this entire race, which again, kind of a common occurrence. Everybody's going to have to pit one more time the rest of the way. Just have to pick and choose exactly when we're going to want to pit. Website and clock with the ID punch. Yeah, I mean, that's a little unique. I don't think I've really ever heard of something like that. I mean, it makes sense, though, especially if there's like a travel job that people have. Because, I mean, there has to be some sort of record of when exactly you started and stopped. So the race for where we're at right now has dwindled down to just a 2-driver battle for the lead between Matt Kenseth and Dave Blaney, and it's really not much of a battle. It's more the 17 just kind of following behind the 22. I mean, it's clear that Dave Blaney's got the fastest car in the field today. It's the reason we've led as many laps as we have. .67 to go, 200 laps complete. That's how many laps we went yesterday before the first caution. So that was a 1-mile track at Dover versus a 1.5 here at Kansas. I mean, now we really got to take advantage of this because we don't get the opportunity often to win a 1.5 miles. So we have 1.5 miles win on the season. All the way back at Vegas. Let's try to get another one. And just like with Vegas, so we would end up leading the most laps if we can get it done here today. Been very much in control of this the whole step. Not sure exactly how many cars are on the lead lap. I would imagine there's still quite a few. Kenseth took a little bit longer to get by that lap car. Clean pass for Blaney over Sorensen. On a 7/10 of a second lead over that 17 car now. I am definitely looking into the idea of short pitting. I don't know, like I said, how early necessarily, but try to cycle into the lead through pit stops rather than having to chase them down in the final 20 laps or so. Even though I still believe that I could get there. .60 laps left at the line that last time by. We've gone 61 laps the entire race on fuel, each of the first 3 runs. We pitted 3 of the 4 times. Everybody has to pit 1 more time still to make it to the end, but the fuel window is open, so we'll have to wait and see exactly when we might see pit stops. Might be one of those things I could be the first car to pit road and they might just end up following. So they don't lose too much more time. Raping in on the 126, the 19 of Jeremy Mayfield. Lead's just kind of fluctuated evenly between about a half a second and 0.8 of a second for a little bit of time now between where the 22 and the 17 are at. Kind of trading lap times back and forth between us. We were the most recent of these two to pit. Big low dive. Completely wrapping that white line through the first half of turns 1 and 2. Trying to build up enough of a head of steam to try to make the pass on this 126 car. Riding in line right on his back bumper. Followed him to the inside of the 19 of Jeremy Mayfield. 30.607. That last time for Blaney, fastest lap of the race for himself. I think that we just nailed the setter from qualifying into the race. Stuck to it, qualified ninth, but it felt like there was something to be had with this setup, and sure enough, on the long runs, here we are. Halfway through the current fuel run, so we've gone a little more than 30 laps. (31-32 laps to the halfway mark yet again for fuel. We could stay out to lap 244 if we chose. Kyle Busch in the 5, the last car in the lead lap, just in front of the 22. Nobody has come to pit road yet for their final stop. Seven-tenth of a second lead for Dave Blaney. 50 laps to go. Just put Kyle Busch a lap down off turn 2. I think we're going to pit this time. Gonna short pit this final run. Try to lengthen out our lead even more. Trying to get really aggressive on the pit entry. Just continuously doing that throughout the day. So we'll top off on fuel. Should be a slightly quicker pit stop because only 3/4 of a tank is going to be enough to fill it full. So that's something I didn't really realize with this as well at this point by short pitting. Maybe quickens the stop just a bit. Instead of having to wait for the full tank of gas to get full after changing the tires. All right, all good. Off and away goes Dave Blaney. And obviously we've already clinched the most laps led, so that was another reason I kind of factored into this. And we're not giving any laps led to somebody who hasn't led already today, so Kenseth's led. And we're not even racing him for the championship anyway, so even if he hadn't led, I wouldn't be worried about Kenseth leading because he's a non-chaser. We've got that luxury. 4 fresh tires here for Dave Blaney. Really start to attack for however many laps it's going to be before we start seeing more cars hit pit road. So he tries to widen the gap out. Honestly, for this race being caution-free to this point, I'm surprised at how many cars are still in the lead lap. It does seem like a fairly competitive race. Which you wouldn't really think that that'd be the case with how many laps we've led, too, but... yeah, great run so far. Should lead over half of the laps. By the time we do end up cycling back to the lead. By the way, clean stop for the pit crew. All chase long. I don't think they've made a single mistake. 3 for 3 at New Hampshire. 4 for 4 at Dover. Well, I did make a mistake the one stop at Dover under caution, but there was nobody else on pit road, so it didn't really matter. So we'll go 3 for 4 at Dover, but the stop that they made the mistake, it didn't matter. Nobody else was on pit road. And perfect today. 4 for 4 here at Kansas also. So this pit crew has done everything I really could have asked for out of them for these chase races thus far. Got 7 more after this one. See if they can continue on. Keep doing what they're doing. I believe Elliott Sadler's still up in the top 5. See if he stays there. He needs a good run if he's going to want any sort of a shot at the title, especially if Dave Blaney goes on to win this race today. Top 5 would be big. Need over 1 full race worth out. Maybe he moves up in the standings. Comes in last of the 10. Should at least get ahead of Dale Jarrett. Got Paul Menard down on the apron. I think he was blowing an engine. I don't think he would have been on the apron that early in the corner if he was making a scheduled stop. Blaney with a squeeze to the inside of Elliott Sadler. 40 laps left. Question now is how much longer does Matt Kenseth, the race leader, continue to just stay out there for? Maybe he's trying to catch a caution to trap a bunch of cars a lap down at this rate. Blaney's back up to 15th, so still 14 cars ahead of us have to pit. Right to the inside of the 126. Clean clear pass on him into turn 3. Kenseth stays out for at least another lap. Few other cars on the lead lap just behind him are pitting. As well, some of which a lap down already. 12th place now for Dave Blaney into turn 1. So from being in one of the last groups to pit to being the very first car to pit road this time. The longer Kenseth stays out, the bigger the lead Dave Blaney is going to have over him by the time everything cycles through. I think it is kind of good for us in a way that he has stayed out as long as he has. As long as we cycle all the way through this, of course. Still plenty of fuel to make it to the end from here. Should be about 7-8 plus laps to the good on fuel to the end of the race. We pitted, actually more than that really. Pitted with what, 48, 49 to go? In actuality, it's only like 7 to 8. Laps of a difference compared to those that just pitted. It's going to be more than that on Kenseth. Kenseth's pitting this time finally. I had a little contact when I passed Kevin Harvick through 1 and 2. He definitely wasn't giving us much room. So Blaney back on the lead lap if we were to catch a caution. Harvick is going to stay out for at least one more lap longer than that of Matt Kenseth. Harvick has already led more than once today through green flag pit stops, in fact. It's the only other time he has led. So he has already received bonus points today. I believe the only drivers to lead would be Ryan Newman, Jeff Gordon, Greg Biffle, Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, and Dave Blaney. I think those are the only 6 that have led a lap. Kenseth the only non-chaser to lead. Harvick stays out for at least another lap. There's Kenseth down on the bottom of the track. So we had about 1/8 of a second lead over him before we pitted. And by short pitting, we're going to be well more than that ahead of Kenseth when this cycles through. We're not going to know the exact gap back to that 17 car until we become the leader, and then we'll see the difference between us and second. Kevin Harvick going to stay out at least one more. Now, Harvick has lapped Kenseth. He's not far enough behind where we're at currently on track, so we are on the lead lap. We've made up enough time. And not many more to pit, up to 5th for Dave Blaney. Got 4 more cars that have to hit pit road, at least of those on the lead lap, and maybe a few lappers still have to pit as well. 32 laps to go at the line this time by. Harvick's still out there. Car pitted that last time, and now up to 4th for Dave Blaney. Got by the lapper Michael Waltrip. Harvick stays out again. And if we had a caution right now, there would be very few cars on the lead lap. Two more. Kevin Harvick and one other driver still up to pit. Wonder if it's a chaser that's trying to stay out longer than him to get a lap led that they might not have led beforehand.
Getting more room than usual here.
30 to go. 29 laps left for Harvick in that 29 car.
Just got a run on you. Whatever you need, clear. Trying to make it as clean as possible. Do the same. What's up, hot? Still a touch.
Harvick, the last driver to pit.
Okay, we're clear.
Stays out again. I mean, we were going to be able to go to lap 244, so I almost wonder if he's going to go that far before he pits. I mean, he stayed out this long, he might as well. If he can go that far, just continue to stay out. There's not many cars on the lead lap, so caution would benefit him. Honestly, benefit us, too. Because we're one of the few on the lead lap, and now Harvick's pitting, so this will allow for more cars to get their laps back. So Harvick pits from the lead, middle of green flag pit stops, really the end of it. It was the last car that had to hit pit road, so we will completely cycle through. No more pit stops the rest of the way, and imagine even if we did get our first caution, everybody would stay out, knowing that we've all pitted recently. Tire wear hasn't been huge today, at least for this 22 car. Let's see here. Not credited with that lap lead, so it'll be a lead change at the start-finish line this time by. And we will have officially 25 laps to go here at Kansas with Blaney back in the lead. Now we just try to hold on and hope it stays green to the end, basically, is all we're hoping for now. Praying to get to that white flag. About a 4.9 second lead for Blaney. This is his largest lead of the day, not counting the cycling to green flag stops, so short pitting definitely gapped him. He only had an 0.8 of a second advantage over Kenseth, so now it's about 4.8, 4.9 after pitting early by about 7-8 laps. Wasn't much, but that goes to show we were almost a half a second quicker lap on the fresh tires. We just got to manage this gap for that 25-lap run to the checker, which I'd like to think that we should be able to do. I think we've got enough speed. We might give up a 10th or 2 a lap here, but we'll be all right. There's a lot for Kenseth to be in maybe a little bit more of an offensive attack now. Santa's in South America right now. I'd like for somebody from South America potentially watching the stream to... Have you seen a Santa Claus sighting yet? We need confirmation of this. Has Santa Claus been spotted on land yet? It reminds me of the Griswold's Christmas when when Clark was telling the cousin Eddie's kids that she's like, oh, I heard like Santa's like such and such right now, and Eddie was just like, really, Clark, really? Can't remember where he said he was. We've got reports of Santa on land. Uncle Buck movie. I don't know that I've actually watched that movie from start to finish. I definitely know of it. Isn't that, gosh. I gotta think of his name. I'm having a brain fart right now. A little brain fog after the workday. I don't feel like I can think as clearly on workday streams. Bill Murray, right? Is that a Bill Murray movie? I'd like to think I've probably seen some snippets of it. John Candy, oh my gosh. That's terrible. Well, I haven't watched it before. I've definitely heard of it. I have seen a lot of those older comedy movies, so I'm surprised I haven't seen that. Schrockfeller, thanks for tuning in. Just found this channel. Fire the full-length race dedication. Of course. Definitely gonna check some past streams. Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, I highly recommend, I mean, we've had a couple of bangers on this season. As far as good, tight, close racing, dramatic finishes. That most recent Pocono race we did, that came down to the wire. We had a fuel mileage race at Dover yesterday, but as far as competitiveness by speed, it wasn't there, but it was a thrilling fuel mileage finish. Yeah, that second Pocono race, that's got to be the wackiest finish I think I've had on the channel yet. Xfinity Series NASCAR Heat 5 did a custom schedule season. The Championship 4 race for that custom schedule season for the Xfinity was at Talladega. That was wild. That's like an early stream on the channel, but that's like really going back in the archives. But I really think of that as being like all the Championship 4 were basically swapping the lead in the last couple laps. Like, who would have thought we were all going to be up there? That was kind of the beginning of having a super speedway as the championship finale on these custom schedule seasons. That kind of set the tone. That was the first one I did, and I kind of do that semi-regularly now. That's still the best one we've had, but kind of set the bar pretty high. There was another one where we also were in like a Championship 4 scenario. It was kind of like, well, I mean, I guess the Daytona one was dramatic for the Busch Series season that we had on our first iteration of NASCAR 07 too. But we weren't battling for the lead in the race, but it still came down to the final lap, and I didn't know if I won the title when we crossed the line. So I had no clue where Tony Stewart was at in the running order. But I knew we weren't having a good day. I knew he was behind us, but we had to beat him by like 4 or 5 positions to win the title. I ended up beating him by 12 points. $13 to go. We've really held on to this lead. It was 4.9 seconds when we had cycled out of the pits. I honestly thought that Kenseth's pace was going to be a little quicker than it was, having those 7 to 8 lap fresher tires, and maybe he was going to gain a tenth or two a lap, but he's not even getting that. He's only eclipsed 0.3 of a second over the course of about 12 to 13 laps. We got another 12 to go at the line here. Only giving up a couple tenths. It's going to take a caution to bring anybody back in contention here. This would be not only the 4th win in a row, not by technicality, because again, California and Richmond were simulated at the end of the regular season because we had clinched the regular season title early at that point, but 4 max points days in a row, though. Of the last 4 races we have ran, it has been a good weekend / early this week of the channel. I don't know if we're going to keep the streak alive at Talladega on the next one, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, we're off for Christmas tomorrow. No stream tomorrow. So Merry Christmas to everybody that is still watching on this Christmas Eve. I know we don't have as many people here tonight specifically, but I understand it's the holidays. But yeah, we'll be off tomorrow and then back on again Thursday night. Again, Talladega. UAW Ford 500. 6 p.m. Eastern on Thursday night. It's going to be a wild one to come back with. That's 7 races to go in the chase, and I think even with winning these first 3 chase races, all in max points days, literally couldn't do any better for ourselves. Just our 2nd mile-and-a-half track win of the season. And we might end up leading more laps here than I led at Vegas earlier in the year, too. Well, we got that win. I was not expecting this today. I mean, honestly, I didn't know what to expect because we hadn't ran at Kansas on the season yet, but the mile-and-a-half tracks have not gone this good for us. There are some mile-and-a-halves we have left. We have raced at. I finished 5th at Charlotte, the 600. Texas, I didn't lead a lap at all. Ran outside the top 10 most of the day. Finished 11th. That's probably going to be a tough one for us, but we'll see. Gotta do what we can do at Dega. Try to lead as many laps as possible again. That'd be insane if we started 4 for 4. Martinsville and Phoenix are definitely 2 races I could look at winning, but I mentioned before, if we could steal any other races along the way, that'd be great. Even though we're going to go on to lead the most laps in this race today, this is a steal. This is a steal of a win. Only because I didn't expect it coming in. Homestead is the only other track we have not raced at yet this season. That's the finale, of course, from the 2006 season. Looks like we only have 3 cars out of the race, which is all that DNF'd yesterday as well at Dover. And the full 400 miles there. We have 6 laps to go currently. Just trying to get to that white flag. There's been hardly any traffic around us almost this entire run, too. Makes our lives even easier. Five to go. Leads down to about 3.94 seconds. Kenson's definitely pushing harder. Our lap times haven't fallen off that much, but again, he does have 7 to 8 lap fresher tires on us. It's not going to make enough of a difference this late. I mean, he's literally going to have to be almost a second a lap faster now. And that's just not the case. You can give up a couple tenths here and there. I'm not getting out of the gas any earlier. I want that white flag. I've actually had quite a few green-white checkers over the last couple of weeks on this game on the channel. This will be back-to-back caution-free, sorry, no, not back-to-back, but 2 of the first 3 chase races to go caution-free. 5 of the last 6 races will have had 2 or less yellows, because we're definitely not going to get more than 1 with this few of laps left. We're guaranteed 1 green-white checker. And then no cautions come out on the final lap. Two to go at the line. 3 miles left in the race, 1.5 miles away from the white flag. Decent battling in the middle portion, but the final run, Really stretch that lead out. Beautiful pit strategy call. The short pit by those 7 to 8. Oh, geez, I lifted thinking that was a checkered flag. I was a lap early. I was so excited to get to the white. I was out of the gas. I crossed the start-finish line. I was thinking I won. This last lap time is not going to be very quick. I barely kept it off the wall. I just caught myself. All right, here we go. Checkered flag waving this time. I was a lap off. 267 of them. They all feel the same without a caution in the middle of it. There we go. 3.7 second margin of victory there. I gave Kenseth about 3 to 4 tenths on that last lap. We had a 4.1 second lead when I crossed the line. And a Dave Blaney, Kansas Speedway win. Let's go. Merry Christmas to all. And to all a good night. And a smoke show. All right. See here, 200 laps led out of 267 today. 37 laps led for Kenseth, the non-chaser, who finishes in second. 171.26 mile per hour average race speed. Another quick full cup race for you with this thing not having a yellow. This only went 2 hours and 20 minutes, 18 seconds. That's not bad, honestly. I'm so used to not having many cautions for these cup races anymore that they're going by so quickly. I can't be getting used to that. We still have a few 500-mile races left this season. Dega, of course, in the next one. We have back-to-back 500-mile races because we go to Charlotte right after that. Texas still on the schedule yet. So, 18 lead changes despite no cautions. 3.7 second margin of victory. And again, we led a crispy, clean 200 laps. That puts us up over 4,000 laps led on the season now. The record is 43-43. 4,343 laps led. Cale Yarborough, most laps led in a single season. So we're up over, well, actually, I can do the easy math because it was 200. This is going to put us at 4,088 laps led. So we are less than 300 laps led away from the all-time record. And we still have 7 races left. So we should get there. I mean, it would take a catastrophic fail. I mean, granted, I will say, I don't lead laps like this on a mile and a half. It's only the second time we've led the most on a mile and a half, and it's only our second win. And I've led a lot of single-digit laps on mile and a halves. But as good as I am at Martinsville and Phoenix on this game, I'd like to think I should easily be able to lead just around 300 laps for the record. I'll probably lead more than that many at Martinsville, honestly. I mean, we led over 400 at Bristol. Short tracks are just way too good for us. All right, second for Kenseth, Kevin Harvick third, Jimmy Johnson fourth. He did get bonus points. Same for Harvick as far as the chaser. Sadler did not get bonus points, but finishes fifth. Greg Biffle led 1 lap, finishes sixth. Jeff Gordon led 18. He finishes seventh. Dale Earnhardt Jr. eighth with no laps led. This is Kurt Busch in ninth, and then Tony Stewart. Stewart, another chaser, gets a top 10, and he did not lead either. 1 lap led for Ryan Newman from the pole. He led the very first lap of the day, but he finishes 11th. Other chase drivers in this one. Making sure that was J.J. Johnson. He's had some good runs. He's probably been the best fantasy driver this season. Dale Jarrett 14th. 3 straight races to start the chase outside the top 10 for Jarrett. That's not good. And I think that's it. I think I missed one. Thought I did. Going back through there, I don't see any others. Yeah, so the only 2 chase drivers to not get top 10s were Ryan Newman in 11th and Dale Jarrett in 14th. The only non-chasers to get top 10s were Kurt Busch in 9th and Matt Kenseth in 2nd. So that's the second time we've had 8 chase drivers get a top 10. I mean, that's why we have to be so consistent, because they're so consistent. Yeah. The Banquet 400. They got some good mac and cheese. It's been a minute. I'm more of a Bob Evans mac and cheese guy, but they've got some good stuff too. Stouffer's has some good mac and cheese also. A little late on muting the gameplay audio there. All right. So 7 races to go to try to get Dave Blaney his first career championship. Yeah, pot pies are good there too. I do agree with you on that. Lasagna. You got some good lasagna. Just the good home-cooked meals. 104-point lead over Jeff Gordon. It was 65 coming into the day. Gordon gets his top 10, led some laps. Harvick minus 140, 142 for Biffle, 144 for Johnson. Top 5 within 1 race worth of the points lead going into Dega. If we get through Dega and we still have a 100-point lead plus, that's going to be great. One full race, we have to be 156 points ahead. So, again, mathematically, Johnson in 5th. If we had our problems like we've had at Daytona a couple times this season, that Johnson could potentially take the points lead. We did DNF in the Daytona 500, so we just got to survive. Dale Jarrett, another not top 10 finish. 3 of them to start. He's 255 back. Tony Stewart in 8th. Sadler had a top 5 today. That's big for him. Ryan Newman finished 11th. He falls back 2 spots in points, and he's now full race back in 6th. So that is going to do it for this one. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. I will see you all on Thursday. Taking, again, the day off tomorrow. Enjoy your friends and family, whoever you're spending the holiday with. And as always, appreciate the support to the channel. For all of you that tune in on a daily or weekly basis, whenever it is, greatly appreciate it. Have fun doing this almost every night. And, yeah, again, see you Thursday, everybody. Talladega, our next one. December 26th, 6 p.m. Eastern. Live on KRC. Have a good one, everybody.